I did this talk only 3 times before, but that was for big companies. And one of those big companies that was just 2 weeks ago, and they said they liked it. They liked it a lot. They were delighted, as vertical management would say, and they wanted me to return. That is awesome. Do it for another group as well. And then they made sure that things were delegated to the financial department, because of course big companies pay a small invoice, right? That's part of the deal. But then yesterday I received a message from the invoicing department. There was this big form that I had to fill out in order to be paid. The purchase order form, lots of information there. It had all kinds of threats, like if it wasn't any good, we will never hire you again. It said on the form. And there was a number that I had to put on the invoice, and it said that I had to send the invoice both via email and via paper. And they single-handedly decided they would not pay earlier than 60 days after receiving the invoice. So I thought, I was not very happy with that. I was not very happy because they said I had delighted them and now they treat me like this. So what I did was I crossed out 60 days and it said 30. And then I signed it and then I emailed it and I said, I'm not going to send you a paper one. If you want, I can send you a screenshot of the print button. And that made me really happy. That made me happy. And that's important, right? You have to have fun in your job. And they agreed, by the way. So no problems there. So this is about the happy people. One moment. I'm going to switch these computers around because then I will be able to see my own presentation, which is very useful. Sorry, Stefan. This big one is going on the side, just a little bit. Could you help me? Because I'm going to drop it if you don't. All right, thank you. All right, so this is it. Then I can see it. Otherwise, I have no idea what I'm talking about. Okay, let's have Melly. This is called. I created this blog a couple of years ago. I told the organizers yesterday over dinner that this is how I learned being agile as a writer. Write a book with small pieces of text and then get some feedback on it and then change course depending on the feedback of the readers. That worked very well. Then that turned into a book, Management 3.0. You just heard about it. There's another little one, How to Change the World. Here it is available. And now I do courses all over the world based on the book, and they seem to be quite successful. So I'm pretty happy overall. But not everyone is, and I will show you. Let's have a conversation about that. Why is this military squad doing push-ups? Why are they doing push-ups? Well, some people say it's to build muscles, and then I say why, and then I say, well, to have a stronger body, and then I say why, and they go, why? Do the 5 whys. And then usually we end up with, in order to be better able to survive. That seems to be the fundamental idea here. They have to survive in unpredictable environments, complex environments. And then it helps to have a healthy body and a healthy mind. Increases your chance of survival. That's important. And I've just finished reading this book by Patrick Lencioni, and he said an organization is healthy when it is whole and consistent and complete, and its operations and culture have to be unified. Wow, that sounds grand, doesn't it? But this is about the healthiness of the organization. Healthy people have healthy organizations have healthy people, as far as I'm concerned. This is Melly. Imagine that Melly is your colleague, one of your employees, one of your co-workers. And Melly looks happy, doesn't she? She looks over her shoulder and smiles at you when you pass by and you think, wow, Melly's doing a good job here. She's been here for a long time, doing good work. But actually, Melly is not very happy. Melly Shum hates her job. This is actually a photo that has been hanging in Rotterdam, my hometown in the Netherlands, for about 20 years. A big photo on one of the buildings in the center of the city. And for a long time I have been wondering, why is Melly Shum hating her job? I don't know. I don't know. Apparently, maybe we should find out. This is a work of art, apparently. Some artist put it up there and it's been hanging there ever since. Such a sad thing that Melly has been hating her job for 20 years, but she doesn't quit. She just goes on and on and on. Maybe that reminds you of a few people that you know. So actually there's research out there that says that today over half of American workers effectively hate their jobs. That's a terrible thing. And it's not just about Americans. I just read research in the latest book by Gary Hamel. He has the global figures. He says it's the same globally. Half of the people in the world hate Americans. Oh, sorry, hate their jobs. Sorry about that. Half of the people in the world hate their jobs. And this is a terrible thing. This is a terrible thing. People have been hating their jobs for 100,000 years. For 100,000 years. There's this interesting model called spiral dynamics. It looks a bit like a tornado that went to Rio de Janeiro. It consists of lots of colors, of different ways of seeing organizations. And I find it useful as the backbone of this story. 100,000 years ago, your job was to chase after mammoths and run away from lions. It doesn't sound like a lot of fun to me, but that was basically what they had to do back then. And the next level in the model says, basically, your job was to sacrifice for yourself for the tribe, because tribes were being formed, and you basically had to do what the tribe expected from you. Doesn't sound like a lot of fun either. The third level said the tribes went to war and they started fighting, and basically your job was to steal whatever you could from the other tribes. Doesn't sound like a lot of fun for the other ones. And then the next level said central authority was being formed and people were being turned into slaves. Terrible thing. Big buildings that they built over there in Egypt with slaves, and in many other countries as well. And sometimes it has happened several times that people told me that they felt like slaves in the organization. That's terrible. So the central authority is still doing a bad thing out there, I suppose. Now this is you. Imagine that this is you. This is actually my cousin Eric. He has a funny face that is very useful for me as a speaker. But just pretend that this is you. And you think, you consider your own job and you wonder, is central authority making you suffer? Are you hating your job? Maybe a little part of it. That would be sad. So you tell Melly, we cannot go on hating our jobs. We have to do something about it. Let's do something about it. And you say, maybe we'll be happier when we increase our performance. If we both try to do better in our jobs, then things will turn for the better because the company will make more money and we will benefit from that. And some people say, we can help with that. This is Eddie. Eddie is young and adventurous, and Eddie has lots of good ideas. And he says, I have a good idea for you. I have a good idea. I can help you increase your performance. And Eddie thinks of the organization as a machine, as something that we construct together. And this is the underlying philosophy of scientific management, invented 100 years ago. A number of flavors of project management, structured programming, which I had been taught in the 80s at the university when I did software engineering. A lot of construction work has been going on for a long time. And the central premise is you all play a part in the machine. You have your job, Melly has her job. For example, your job is to paint sticky notes. You deliver lots of sticky notes as the organization to customers. Huge demand for sticky notes out there. You make them blue, yellow, green, pink, etc. Orange. There's lots of colors there, and you paint and paint and paint, 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 faster and faster. And Melly does the glue. Melly does the glue on the sticky notes. Glue, 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 one sticky note after another, and you both have your jobs, right? One does the paint, the other does the glue. And this is the orange level, according to scientific management. Your job is to reach your goal. More colors, faster, before the end of the year. And don't disturb the others. Melly has her job, glue. That's what she does, right? Different parts of the machine. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that well. Here's an article from Fortune magazine. It says 70% of all strategies and projects fail. That is, I believe, because they have this mindset of machines, seeing the organization as machines. Plenty of other research out there, some of you probably know about the Standish report, has similar figures. So not very good. Not very good. This is the organization with its employees on the inside and the stakeholders on the outside. Nobody really happy. Yeah, things work, but it doesn't make people happy. I wasn't happy with the result of that yesterday night when I got that form that I had to fill out. So we're still not happy. Maybe we should work toward a greater purpose. We're here in it together. We're trying to achieve something. Wow. Eddie has grown up a little bit. He has become a little bit wiser, and he says, we are here to do something in the world. Beat the competition. Let's see it as a sport. Lots of management books out there that see the organizations as sports teams, a very popular metaphor. So it's not about your individual job. No, you work together. You work together, you score together, or you fail together, right? And you have to do whatever is needed to make the team win. Sounds reasonable. Sounds reasonable. So this is Eddie thinking of the organization as a sport. Let's kick the competition's ass. That is the basic idea. And I think lots of fads and fashions such as Six Sigma, theoretical strains, business process re-engineering, total quality management, etc., etc., etc. They're all built on this philosophy. They had very good ideas. I'm not complaining that they were wrong, but they were using this idea of the organization as a hierarchical way of forming a team and sending them in a certain direction. Doesn't work that well. People were asked to change for the greater good. Like, for example, it was discovered that the sticky notes don't stick that well, and the customers complain it has to be better, and they want more, and they discover that you are the bottleneck with all your paint. Melly is going faster with the glue, so you get an assistant. You get mini me, right? Mini you in this case, right? Mini you does only the yellow paint, right? And you do the other colors. Well, that helps. It makes you go faster, and then you can manage mini you, right? So you become a manager. Oh, that's cool. And so you do that together. And maybe Melly can sometimes help you out, and you can help Melly out because you're a team together. Well, still doesn't work that well. These fads and fashions fail to deliver on their promises, is what the research said. Very famous article here in Harvard Business Review. So still not good. Yes, I admit some business owners have become very happy. They made a lot of money. Some CEOs, top management as well. The rest of the world, not so much, I would say. So that's still not good. And at the same time, the world is getting more complex. The world is getting more complex. Like, for example, globalization goes up, innovation goes up, democratization goes up, diversification goes up. Everything is going up in this world. And uncertainty goes up. Less and less we know what is going to happen tomorrow. That makes it very, very hard to plan the amount of sticky notes that you have to produce for the rest of the year and what colors they should be. And all these value exchanges with the outside world, which colors they like, which ones they don't, how strong the glue should be. Should we have super stickies as well, besides the normal stickies? Oh my God, it all makes the results fail. I worked for a whole evening on this animation, by the way, so I hope you appreciate it, right? All right, thank you. Okay, so we're still not there. Organizations have to learn how to increase their health, or get back to that health issue, and treat businesses like they live in complex systems. Wow, what is that? A complex system? Well, beehives, the immune system, the internet, gardens, etc., they're all complex adaptive systems, as the scientists say. They are a bit hard to predict how they behave, but we can manage them if we see them as living systems and not as machines. And an organization is also a complex adaptive system. All the researchers basically agree on that. There's actually no one thing such as complexity theory. You sometimes hear references to complexity theory or complexity science. Well, actually it doesn't exist. It's a whole bunch of theories lumped together, stuff that we have discovered over the last 100 years. Evolutionary theory, game theory, chaos theory, network theory, information theory, all that stuff joined together. When you apply them to those living ones, you have complexity science. That's complexity science. So it's a patchwork of theories, but useful, very useful. Science is very useful every now and then. So we can apply that to organizations as well. And I found this interesting quote. Complexity theory is about the dynamics of change in systems. Isn't that interesting? Responding to change over following a plan. The fourth line in the Agile Manifesto. Right? And another quote says, it is a theory of business that places people and relationships in dramatic relief. Individuals and interactions over processes and tools. People and relationships. Same thing. So that's why some researchers, like Dave Snowden, for example, who was also a well-known figure in that world, they say it's the science that explains why Agile works. It makes sense. It's a marriage made in heaven. Stephen Hawking said in 2000, the next century will be the century of complexity. It's seen like the next major wave in the sciences. Pretty important, if you tell me. But what do we do with it? You think, oh, wow, interesting. But how does that help us create happy people, make people happier and create healthy organizations? Well, Eddie has become a little bit older again, a bit wiser, and he says, I can help you. I have new ideas. I have some new ideas. I now see the organization as a community, as something that is alive. People working together for themselves, but also for each other. And this is the basic philosophy of Scrum, and Lean, and Kanban, and Agile, and lots of other memes out there. A lot of communities. And the basic premise is, well, we allow you to do whatever you want, but what you do has to contribute to the benefits of the community. Everyone should be benefiting from what you're doing. It is a more nuanced approach, I would say. And in the spiral dynamics model, this is the next one, a yellow. It says, express yourself, but avoid harm and help other people. And that is how you together will evolve and do marvelous things. So, for example, you and Melly realize that you're still not very happy painting all those sticky notes and gluing them all together. And you say, let's stop this. We'll stop doing this and we're going to ask the customer, what do you want? What do you want? And the customer says, sticky notes. Yeah, but why do you want sticky notes? To put them on the windows. Okay, why do you want sticky notes on the windows? Because we have no walls and only sticky notes can be on the windows, and then we have these dashboards. But the problem is your sticky notes suck because they fall down all the time, and even the super stickies are terrible. And it looks like autumn in Constance here. There's all these leaves all through the office. So we need something better. And then Melly says, what if we do not make sticky notes? What if we have tiny whiteboards that people can write on? And you say, oh, that's an awesome idea. And then maybe we can find something to stick it onto the window, like little suction cups. And you come up with this solution. Ta-da! This is a task board that really sucks. It sucks to the window. No sticky notes anymore. They're just tiny whiteboards that people can clean and they hang them up again. I took this picture in a company in Rotterdam, and it looks marvelous. And they love their task boards. And no sticky notes anymore. And you and Melly think, wow, we innovated. We came up with a brand new solution. And you're happy, you enjoy yourself. What is the next thing that we can do? You wonder. So it turns out Agile actually makes sense. There are benefits to having people be Agile. And one of the benefits is responding to changing priorities. That's the number one benefit reported by people all over the world. But also better project visibility, increased productivity, and better team morale, happier people. It is an outcome of Agile. So, that's better. That's better. Employees are happy, Customers are happy and the users. Indirectly, I would say the business owners benefit from Agile. They're not addressed directly, but we're doing a good job. What we're not focusing on still are the suppliers. I noticed that yesterday night. Suppliers and the community, local community and society is often ignored. So there's still work to do, but we're on our way. We're doing well. Unfortunately, different community leaders suggest fixing things in different ways. There are different ideas on being agile. Lots of wars being fought out there, I can tell you. Very interesting, by the way. So one of the ideas is Scrum. I probably don't have to explain to you what Scrum is. At the keynote a few weeks ago in Bonn, where I had lots of CEOs and CIOs in front of me, I had to explain what Scrum is, but not here, I assume. This is Agile applied in a specific way. Good way, but just one way of doing it. Kanban is another way. It's slightly different. It says instead of limiting yourself in time, instead of a time box, you limit yourself in the amount of work that you have on your plate every day. Limit the work in progress. And then the rest, quite similar. More differences here and there, but that's one of the main differences. But we're not the only ones who came up with these ideas. In the finance world, they call it beyond budgeting. That's interesting. They didn't know about Agile, but they had the same realizations. They said, making budgets per year makes no sense anymore in this world. That made sense 100 years ago. But things changed so fast. We cannot make a budget for the amount of sticky notes that we're going to produce for the rest of this year. We all know that the budgets are useless just a moment after we created and announced them. And everyone knows that departments that have budgets will try to spend the budget before the end of the year. Otherwise, next year they have less. They get less. The budget goes down. That's terrible. So beyond budgeting says, no budgets. No budgets. But then people wonder, how do we prevent the organization from not spending too much money? And the movement says, make it all visual. Make it all transparent. We will see what everyone else is spending. So anyone is allowed to buy a plane ticket to go to a conference in New York and fly business class, fine. But everyone else will see it. Everyone will see that you went business class instead of economy. So you'll have to be able to explain why you thought that was important, valuable. It turns out they do this at Statoil and a number of other Scandinavian countries. Expenses go down because there's this peer pressure of people watching each other and making sure that together we're not spending too much money. It works better than budgets. They have some other ideas as well, but this is one of the main things. Lean Startup is an interesting movement. Lean Startup, it says, oops, sorry about this, markers out of the way, go away. Lean Startup, it says we should add another feedback cycle on top of Agile. Because what Agile says in the Agile Manifesto, working software over processes and tools. Well, I created working software once. It was a bookkeeping program and I'm still using it. And after 20 years of using it, I only found 3 bugs. I'm serious, not kidding. It was a very, very high quality bookkeeping program. Unfortunately, I am the only person in the world who's using that program. There's nobody else using it. Nobody else paying me for it. I created waste. In terms of Lean Startup, I created waste. I created something that worked perfectly, but nobody's using it and nobody's paying for it. So you need another feedback cycle. If you create working software, is somebody willing to pay you money for what you created? Otherwise, you did all that work for nothing. Or maybe for your own enjoyment, as in my case, because I love doing it. But in the end, it's not enough. So the Lean Startup movement adds another feedback cycle. Validate every feature, everything that you do. Is the customer prepared to pay for that? If not, waste. Sounds smart. And this one, design thinking. This is Agile applied to product design. And they came up with it before the Agile world. The early design thinking articles are from the 80s of last century. And they realized you make the best products, like you and Melly creating that fantastic task board with these suckers and little whiteboards. That's innovation. They said the best designs like this are created by, here we go, cross-functional teams, short iterations, and heavy customer involvement. Wow. What does that make you think of? Right? We call it agile. They call it design thinking. Same. So different movements in the world have been arriving at the same conclusions. We call it agile. Okay, who cares about the name? It's things that work. We're coming to the same conclusions in different parts of the world. So you say we're making progress, but we're still not there. We're still not there. There are problems. Barriers to agile adoption. These are the biggest problems that people report about becoming agile. And the biggest one is ability to change the organization's culture. It doesn't fit with the current command and control culture that we have in organizations. And except for people with the right skills, this is the next one. The third one is a general resistance to change. People don't want to do things in another way. So this is why change management and organizational transformation are the big topics nowadays at Agile conferences. We now know how we should be doing it. The next problem is, how do we get people to actually implement it and do it well and not misunderstand it in terrible ways? So what organizations need is a transformation. We want Eddie to grow a bit older, a bit wiser, and to see organizations in a different way, from machines all the way to communities. That is the metaphor that we should be using. Unfortunately, many times it happens like this. Some people see the organization as a machine, others see it as a sport, and others see it as a community, and then they fight. It's a metaphor that doesn't make sense. Something ridiculous emerges from that interaction. I experienced myself when I introduced Scrum in the organization a number of years ago. We had 4 teams, and I ordered 4 whiteboards from finance, from the financial department. They did all the purchasing. So 4 whiteboards that I needed. And then the next day the CFO came to me and he said, why do you need 4 whiteboards? Can you not just order 1 and then have it moved around the office? No, I want 4. So this was clearly a conflict. There's somebody who didn't get it. He was trying to save on expenses and have people cart the task boards around. Can you imagine every day taking off all the sticky notes and the other team putting all the sticky notes up there and then you take it off and then the next team? It doesn't make sense. Still agitates me. So, who decides? Who decides that we're going to be agile? Well, it turns out, according to the report, in 3/4 of the case, management decides. Why? Because management sees these benefits like higher productivity and faster time to market. Well, that's what managers want, I can tell you. They love that. Oh, maybe they want happier people, but that's a side effect, right? Primarily, faster time to market, higher productivity. That's what you get with Agile. So they want it, they implement it. But they do not change the way they think about the organization. And then what happens? The organization eats change, right? Smart, huh? Smart. Unfortunately, the existing immune system kills it, eats it, stamps it out. Go away, Agile. So, bad, not good. Maybe we can do better if we really understand complexity thinking. Let's turn to that for a moment. This is difficult. Everyone have a big gulp of water, because you're going to need it in the next few slides. Alright, here we go. Complexity thinking. It starts with the law of requisite variety. There's this guy called William Ross Ashby, famous cyberneticist, cyber guy. He said, only variety can absorb variety. Wow, that sounds quite philosophical. But what does it mean? Anthony Stafford Beer, a systems thinker, said this law of requisite variety is as important to managers as the law of relativity to physicists. Wow, that sounds important, but what does it mean? Mr. Noria, who is the current dean of the Harvard Business School, says when we apply it to organizations, we call it the law of requisite complexity. All right, but what does it mean? Okay, this is what it means. The best description I found is from Max Boisseau. He's was a complexity scientist. He regrettably died last year. And he said, I'll read it from this one, the complexity of a system must be adequate to the complexity of the environment that it finds itself in. Or in other words, if you want to survive in a part of the environment, you have to be at least as complex as that part of the environment in which you're trying to survive. Otherwise, the environment will do something that will kill you, that you will be unable to deal with. Okay, that I get. Somehow that makes sense. I still don't know the practical side of it, but that idea, that makes sense. But what does that mean in a practical way? Well, the researchers say you have a huge amount of complexity in the organization. It's the brains of the people. The brains are the most complex devices that we know of. There's nothing more complex than the human mind. The problem is we're not using it. We're trying to come up with all kinds of complicated rules and stuff like that. That's not complex. That's just complicated, something different. We have to tap into the complexity of the human mind. How? With storytelling, with metaphors, with pictures, all kinds of useful techniques that enable the human mind to make sense of the world. For example, this is why we learned in software development to describe requirements with personas, pictures of people, and with user stories. Why? Because we're human beings. Then we understand the requirements better, because we can visualize them. We can visualize Melly. I chose Melly intentionally. It's a picture of a human being, and you can think, oh, okay, yeah, I know somebody like Melly who also hates her job. Well, that is easier for people to comprehend. Stories and pictures, and metaphors, and all that stuff. So that's the first suggestion from complexity thinking. I have 7 more, and they show that we're already doing quite a good job in the Agile world. The second one is we have to use a diversity of perspectives. One quote I found says, complexity itself is anti-methodology. It is against one-size-fits-all. Basically, it denies anyone to be dogmatic about anything. As I always say, even the weirdest practice is the best practice in some place at some time. So do not be dogmatic about either Kanban or Scrum or whatever. Multiple models make more sense. This is actually why we use planning poker in Scrum. Because we intentionally use the different incomplete mental models of the team members. And then we aggregate it, and then something better emerges from that wisdom of the crowd. So we're doing a good job. Number 3, assume dependence on context. This is important. As Snowden says, best practice is always past practice. What worked for you in the past may not work for you in the future. Actually, it is probably guaranteed not to work for you in the future. So you'll have to keep thinking about what will work next week, what will not work next week. That's why we have retrospectives. That's why we keep thinking about our processes. We do not create the processes that work and then leave it at that. No, because that will mean you will slowly fall behind. Keep working on it. So we do that too. Then assume subjectivity co-evolution. The scientists say, whenever you look at a system, you will be influencing the system. And the system will be influencing you. It always goes both ways. They call it reflexivity with a difficult term. So, for example, they discovered that in sociology, why they call it the Hawthorne effect, once you start observing people and trying to measure their performance will go up. Why? Because you're looking at them. They know that. Right? And then the performance will go up. This has been seen and measured a number of times. What you measure is what you get, is another famous quote that says more or less the same thing. You have to take that into account. And I notice that every now and then when Scrum teams work with velocity, for example, and as soon as management gets wind of that velocity metric and start looking at it, it will go up. It will go up. Why? Because people will start measuring and estimating in a different way. We will have estimation inflation. What we estimated to be 3 points last week Now we estimate 5 points. Why? So that velocity curve goes up. That makes management happy. Doesn't make much sense, but this is, the science already predicts that this will work. So velocity is a difficult metric to do right, actually. Number 5, anticipate, adapt, and explore. 3 ways for complex systems to survive in a complex environment. What we do quite well, is anticipation. Actually, Daniel Dennett, the famous philosopher, said, the human brain is an anticipation device. This is how we cheat nature. We can actually look a bit into the future and predict things happening. We can predict where earthquakes will take place. We just don't know when or where or how big they will be. But we're getting even better at that. And we can predict climate change and stuff like that. So we're good at that. But we do far too much. We're addicted to anticipation. I always say it's like alcohol. We have to cut down on the anticipation. Use it in small doses. That's what Scrum has taught us. Anticipate the next sprint. That's far enough. Don't anticipate next month. That's too far away. But what we often forget is the number 3, experimentation. Because anticipation is looking forward, adaptation is responding to changing needs, which you also do in Scrum. But experimentation, that is trying for the sake of trying. No idea if this is going to work or not, but we'll see what happens. Usually teams don't have time for experimentation. That's a sad thing. They have to explore stuff in their environment. This is one of the reasons why extreme programming has spikes, for example. Spikes, experiments with the architecture. See if we can get things to work together. It's like sending a scout in unknown terrain. Important. Number 6, develop models in collaboration. This is about the problem that we've had in software development too, about committees that have great ideas, big models, and they wrote them in big documents and they handed them to other people and said, this is a fantastic description of whatever may occur in your project. Use it and things will be better. Dare I say rational unified process? Dare I say CMI? Several big documents out there. Now the ideas are not bad, but as Ralph Stacey, one famous complexity researcher, says, those formulating the abstractions, these ivory tower committee people, they make a gesture. They simply make a gesture whose meaning can only emerge in many local interactions. So the people who are trying to use those models locally, only they can make sense of their environment, and they will have to use the suggestions. That's nothing more than that. So this is, I believe, one of the reasons why Kanban is so successful. Because it basically says, the process is what you see on the wall. Visualize the process, one of the fundamental principles of Kanban. What you see is the process. It is not something that you received in a binder and that is somewhere in a closet collecting dust. That is not the process. The process is what you see there. Sticky notes, your markings on it, etc., etc. What you do together. That only makes sense in the local interaction of the people. Number 7, shorten the feedback cycle. The only way to win is to learn faster than anyone else, is a quote by Eric Ries of the Lean Startup. There's a famous joke that says, how do you survive the attack of a bear? The answer is run faster than the other guy. That is how you survive. You don't have to be a marathon runner, just run faster than the other one next to you. That's how you survive. So it's the same with product development, same with Agile. You don't have to be the fastest in the world, just faster than the others. Faster than the ones that you compete with. Learn faster. Shorten the feedback cycle. And we've done that in the Agile world too. If you look back at the Scrum literature of 10, 15 years ago, you will see that sprints were 4-week time boxes. 4-week sprints was the norm. That was radical. That was quite extreme at that time. Now we say, what? 4-week sprints? Wow, that's vintage. That's behind the times, actually. So we now have 1 week sprints. Some people say, there's a speaker over here, they say we're going to deliver whenever we want. We don't have sprints anymore. Continuous delivery. So it's going faster and faster. Learn faster than the others. Final tip, steal and tweak. There's research being done in how complex systems innovate, and they model them on computers and have them compete against each other and try to come up with practices for survival in that virtual environment. And what they discovered, the scientists, was that these systems spend 95% stealing practices from the other systems. And only 5% of the time they spend with real innovators, so real new ideas, new things that didn't exist before. So apparently, the highest return on investment for survival is doing what others are doing and tweaking those ideas a little bit to your context. Innovation is not always new stuff, it's recombining stuff that already exists. That is innovation too. Like, for example, more than a year ago, I thought, I need feedback in my course. I need fast feedback in my course. And I had this feedback wall where people put sticky notes on the wall. And I thought, let's also turn that into a happiness index. That's another practice. So I turned it into a happiness index and a feedback door. Call it a happiness door. And it works. And now we see them in many different conferences, and other people use them in courses. This is innovation too. Just take 2 ideas, connect them, and you have something new. Steal other people's practices. Some people might call it the Samsung method. Very, very useful. Very, very successful. High return on investment, I can tell you. So, these are the 8 complexity tips, and there are plenty more. But these are 8 things that I found in science that I think are useful. So my suggestions for you is to use that complexity that you already have in the organization. It is in people's brains, remember? So you wonder, okay, we still have problems to solve. How can we solve the remaining problems? How can we make everyone happy? Because some people were still not happy. Well, Eddie is a bit older and wiser now, and he says, I don't know. Now it's up to you. I cannot help you with that. Maybe you should ask yourself lots of questions and find your own answers. And some people think of the organization as a brain, for example. There are a lot of thinking that is going on. Systems thinking, complexity thinking, there's a lot of thinking in the world. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. There are questions like, what exactly is the organization? Interesting question. And Vashka Duarte, one of the co-organizers of the conference, said just a few weeks ago, maybe it's a good thing that organizations die faster. Maybe that's a good thing, because that means that we evolve, that we learn faster as humanity on how to organize things. So these are meta questions, fascinating questions, but we don't really know the answers. So your job is to find answers to these new questions. That's the last level of the model, the spiral dynamics model. And this is one of the questions. Is this possible? Is it possible to make really everyone happy? Well, maybe, but I think it is important to climb as high as possible, to reach as far as possible. But you can only do that when you're healthy. Then you can climb big mountains. Be a healthy organization. How? Work out. You have to work out. Or back to the squat again. Why are they doing those push-ups? Oops. Why are they doing those push-ups? That's because they want to have a healthy organization. And there are several suggestions for that. Last 10 minutes is about these suggestions. The English verb to manage was originally from the Italian word menagare, which means taking care of horses. It was combined then with the French term ménage, or household. So taking care of a living system, that is what management is. Not taking care of machines, not taking care of a sport, no, it's taking care of something that is alive. And Peter Drucker, one of the greatest management experts, said, it's about human beings. Make people capable of joint performance, and that's what organization is all about. And that is why management is the critical determining factor. He already predicted years and years ago. Management is critical. But he did not say managers. There's a subtle difference. I compare it with testing. Right? Testing is critical. Of course it is. Do you need testers? That depends. That depends. But everyone will be involved in testing somehow. Maybe depending on the size of your organization, you will have some people specializing in testing. Maybe depending on the organization, you have people specializing in management. That's okay. We call them managers. But management has to be done by someone. And usually we spread it out. Scrum is micromanagement by the team, as Mike Cohn said. I love that. We're all responsible for micromanagement. So management is too important to be left to the managers, I always say. We're all involved. That's why I'm glad this room is so full of people. We all participate in the workout. Let's have a few more suggestions. This is Marty, the management model. It was already referred to just this morning. Marty is a bit strange management model. It has 6 eyes on the organization. The first eye is energize people. Make sure that people are active and creative and motivated, that they love doing their jobs. How can we achieve that? Well, one thing that I picked up, there are many things that you can do, but one good practice that I picked up is the kudo box. There was a guy in Poland, Paul Clip, who was the organizer of the ACE conference in Poland. He said in his company they use a kudo box. What does it mean? Well, he said we incentivize people to give each other compliments, to give other people in the organization or even outside the organization compliments. And when that person gets a compliment, that's usually through an email to a central box, that person gets a small present. That's nice, a small present. A movie ticket, flowers, dinner for 2, whatever. It's small, very small. He says the impact on the organization is irrelevant. It means nothing in terms of, in financial terms. But the cultural impact is huge, he said. Because people love giving each other compliments, because then someone gets a movie ticket and they're very happy. But by recognition, you helped me out with that project, thank you so much. You made sure that I didn't have to work overtime. I really appreciate that. Stuff like that. He said they even gave a kudo card to somebody's mother because she baked a cake and she was ecstatic about the compliment she had. So this is about changing the culture by incentivizing people to give each other compliments and make them happy. All right. Second part of the model that says, okay, you do a number of things that have people be energized and active and motivated. Now they have to self-organize. Now they have to do things together, make decisions together. How do you do that? Many managers are scared of this. I just heard it just before this talk from Mark. He said it's anarchy. People interpret it as anarchy. Oh, if I do not make the decisions, then it will be chaos. No, that is very, very naive to think. You can do it in a structured way. For example, with an authority board. This simply says there are different levels of delegation. It's not just either I do it or you do it. No, there are levels in between. Like, for example, level 3 means I make the decision, but I will ask everyone's input. For example, this is how I hire team members. The teams did the first interview with job candidates. They did the first interviews, but then they told me which of the candidates were their favorites. And then I made my choice. But I made sure that I had commitment from the team on my decision, because I did not hire anyone that the team said, oh, that person, oh, no, we don't want those. Right? So that's level 3. And there are more levels. So you can make those, you can delegate in step-by-step fashion. You can ask, okay, what does it take us to go from level 3 to level 5, where the team decides who will be the next, who will be hired, but I as a manager will be heavily enabled to influence that decision. Right? So you can do that step by step in a safe to fail environment. So it does not mean anarchy, that's a misunderstanding. Align constraints, that's the third part of the model. So now we have them happy and self-organizing, but are they doing the right thing? Are they organizing in the right direction? May not be the case, so you have to give them a goal, you have to give them a sense of identity, a sense of the values. What is it that we do and don't do here in this company? One of my favorite teams was the last team that I was on 2 years ago was this one, called Social Toko. It was a new business unit, and we loved it because we came up with the name ourselves. It was a new unit. We had a logo designed in a crowdsourced logo contest, and we made our own website. We were basically our own little startup within the safe arms of a bigger organization who was paying the salaries. But we were ecstatic about that, and we had a very, very clear goal. We have to make a bit of money before the end of the year, otherwise our business unit will stop being allowed to live by the bigger organization. So a very clear goal. That's very important. Develop competence is number 4. Teams cannot achieve those goals if they are not competent enough to move forward. So we have to do something about it. Help them out. Do something to increase their skills. This is a picture I took at a company in Oslo, Cisco Systems Norway, formerly called Timber. They were purchased by Cisco. And when I got a tour around the offices, they showed me this football table. A very interesting football table. Cisco Systems is a company that makes these teleconference equipment. Very high end. So the boardrooms of the biggest companies in the world use their teleconference screens and cameras and all that stuff. Very, very professional materials. And they showed me this football table, and they said, we tweak this table. For example, they showed me there's a laser beam. I will show you the laser beam with my laser beam. There was a laser beam that detected when a goal was being scored. And so the table itself was keeping track electronically of the game. And there was also, you barely see it, but this is a card swiper, a security card swiper. So the personnel could swipe the card, and then the table knew who was playing. So the table kept the scores of the employees, and it knew who had won last week, for example. And they said, we're now pimping it up to the next level. They now want to install a little camera here, so that they can replay in slow motion the greatest goals being scored. And they had the television there already. And that was amazing. That's amazing. And what that guy who showed me around said that made a lot of sense. He said, in many organizations, management create these places where people are supposed to be creative, right? With a few cushions and some vintage furniture and stuff like that, and they tell you, okay, if you want to come up with an innovative idea, go sit there. And then you sit there and think, aha, eureka. No. That doesn't work like that. He said, people are creative where they want to be creative. For us, that is the playing room where we play football. That's why we want to be creative. And management gives us all the time and money and whatever we need to tweak that football table. Why? Because this enables us to learn how to tweak technologies and wire up these different hardware devices together and make it work. And that is how they improve their skills. Makes sense for a company that wants to get the most out of the hardware that they're using. For example, they showed me as soon as the first iPad was within the office boundaries, within 2 minutes it was totally broken open. And all the pieces were on the table. And they were trying to figure out, how does this thing work? How is this created? That's what engineers do. All right, next one, nearly there. Growth structure. This is about the organizational structure. I was at a company called Hire in China in February. Big company, 60,000 people. They are formed. They're structured as 2,000 small units of 30 people. 2,000 small units, and they're all basically little companies that collaborate and compete with each other. They have multiple HR departments. They have multiple marketing departments. They have multiple of everything. System administrators. And any unit is allowed to work with anyone. So it's a market. If you want to have other units that use your services, just do your good job so that they want to. Right? There's no single HR department dictating everything. No, if they do a bad job delivering new people, then the other units will simply make a contract with another HR unit. That's markets within office walls. I love that. I did not expect to find that in China, by the way. Amazing. Last one, improve everything. This is about continuous improvement. I have a picture here of a fantastic happiness index. This is a company that, it's actually the same company where I took a picture of the task board on the wall, on glass. They have a happiness index, where people simply mark how happy they are. And this is visual for everyone, so everyone knows that apparently this person had a very bad job, a very bad day. I don't know why. Maybe it's for the same reason that this person had a very happy day. Totally off the scale here. Maybe that's something to do with each other. But you can talk about that. You can reflect on it and I wonder, okay, how can we do better here? Because not everyone is enjoying the job right now. It enables continuous improvement. These are just a few examples of what I would call management 3.0. Management in a way that makes sure that we value the people in the organization, that it's a complex living system. So the conclusion I hope you get from this is it's not about reaching a certain level, it's about increasing your health. Try to be more healthy so that you are able to climb. That's what it's about. I do not aim to be 80 years old. I aim to be healthy enough so that I can survive for as long as possible. We'll see how long it takes. That's the idea. So hopefully you understand, so it's about healthy practices and doing experiments and see what works for me and then improve, adapt to your needs, etc., etc. Until hopefully Melly is smiling for real. Right? She has a real smile on her face instead of one that is faked. So I wish you all with your organizations a long and healthy and happy lives. I hope you all are able to achieve that. And for anyone who wants to, I give out a few free copies of this book to anyone, people who send me an email with the name booklet, the word booklet, to that email address. They have a chance of winning a book by the end of the month. I do this at every conference. So send me an email to this address and that says booklet, and I will give away 10 or 20 copies out of all the people who send me an email. So you might have a chance of winning one. And as I said, I do these courses all over the world, and a number of other people do them as well. And have a number of scheduled in Mannheim, München, Stuttgart, Nuremberg, and in Switzerland too, Geneva, Baden, Zurich, and Lausanne. So if you want to know more, just feel free to join us. Thank you very much. The slides are up there, a slide share. And I think I have just 30 seconds left. That means questions will have to be done in the break, I'm afraid. Thank you for your attention.